Welcome, everybody. We are here together, Peg Rowe and myself, Franciska Dekker. And we are both leaders in the global company Tiara International, and we help women develop in their leadership. We also help companies developing the women in their leadership, or actually keeping them, and so on. And today we wanted to talk about acceptance, as acceptance is a word, it's a theme that is really important to us. But acceptance is also a word, I mean, it can take you anywhere. So my first question for you would be, Peg, can you help us out? What do we mean from Tiara International perspective when we use the word acceptance?
Yeah, and it can be a little tricky because we can even use these words and then not have that sense of acceptance be fulfilled. So essentially what we mean is being able to accept whatever is going on, not from a perspective of resigning ourselves. So it's not about resignation. Oh, well, I'll just accept this. That's not what we mean. We mean actually being able to be at peace with, and for me, I call it not being in an argument with reality. Something's happening, it's outside of my control, and I can either choose to be in an argument and wish that it was a different way, or be frustrated that it's not, or simply have the opportunity to accept, like, oh, this is the way it is. I'll give you an example. For me, the COVID pandemic was a great example of needing to be in a place of practicing acceptance over and over and over again, because that situation was completely out of my control. There were certain things I could manage for myself, but I couldn't make it go away. So it was for a couple of years now having to be in a practice of accepting this is the world we're living in right now. And I have to manage myself and what I have control over, but I have to let go of wanting it to be different and hoping that it's going to be a different way, really being with what is.
Yeah, right. And being with what is takes the word or the concept already to a completely different place. I realize that from my question, like what is it acceptance? I recognize my primary, like, oh, I need to understand. And I think many of us hear something and want to understand. And this is the way we are looking at it is a thing of being with, of sensing. And that is often more easily talked about than it's actually done, as you say.
Yes.
It is a practice. Yes.
It is. Yeah.
And Peg, why is this an important practice in leadership? Because acceptance is one of the 6 core themes in the Tiara model for true leadership, leading from the inside out. So why is it in our leadership model? What does it have to do with leadership?
Yeah. One of the things that we know is that as human beings, it's very easy for us to actually get trapped in situations that we're not happy with, that we're displeased with, outcomes that we're not liking, and expend a whole lot of energy resisting those. And acceptance is an important element of leadership because as a leader, we only have so much energy to go around and to get done the things we want to get accomplished and to lead our teams and our organizations. And if we expend a lot of energy in a place of resisting something that's beyond our control, that's energy that could be used for the good of the whole. It could be used for moving things forward. So part of it is a pragmatic reason. Acceptance is really a pragmatic approach to not getting yourself overly caught up in something you have no control over. And then the other piece of it is, I just think that it allows you as a leader to bring a different kind of mental energy to what you're doing. When you're in a place of acceptance, then you're leading from a place of possibility and what we can do moving forward, as opposed to being caught in a lot of story about what didn't happen, what we didn't like, how things didn't go. So being in that place of being able to say, okay, we're going to assess this situation, we're going to see where we are, and then we're going to accept that this is where we are. And now, how do we move forward? Now, how do we explore new possibilities? Is a really useful skill and tool, I think, for any leader.
Yes, indeed. It brings us back to a neutral place where we can have like an open vision
Right.
about what to do next. Whereas when there is resistance or there is some kind of more negative emotion, we get occupied by that emotion, and
Yeah.
occupied being that emotion means that there is less mental energy indeed available to look ahead and see how can we move from here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think, Peg, does it depend on the issue if we should practice acceptance? Like you gave the example of COVID. Does it really need to be a real big thing? Or can it be a small thing where we can apply the practice of acceptance to? And
I think the practice of acceptance is part of our leadership and personal vocabulary. And it really is a useful tool and skill to have in any situation, personal, professional, big, little. It is an incredibly useful way to approach those issues and situations that we tend to get kind of triggered by and have a reaction to, and get ourselves unstuck, if you will, so that we don't stay stuck. And I don't think I necessarily always realize that, but because in Tiara is such a prevalent dimension of our work, it's such an important part of our model, it now comes almost second nature to me, which doesn't mean that I always do it and do it well, but it means I have much more access to it. I can call on acceptance and recognize, like, oh, I need to pause here for a minute. I need to process this and be in a place of acceptance before I move forward. Whereas before it was more of a, like, okay, where's a piece of paper? Write it all down. Like now it's something that I feel like I have a lot more facility with, and I can pause myself and work through what I need to do to be in acceptance in any given moment about anything, small, large, in any part of my life.
Yeah, exactly. I love it how you really point that it is a pragmatic tool, that it is a useful tool. And if you find that you can yield from your investment in that acceptance practice, then of course you are going to do it more and more. Right. And I also sort of hear you say, I was asking big or small things, but also personal or work related. I mean, energy is energy. It doesn't right. worry about, is this a work situation or a personal situation?
Exactly right.
It goes for both our personal and work life. So yeah, energy is energy. And if it's not helpful, then that is a great pointer to, well, practice acceptance.
I would actually say, I think sometimes our personal lives are where we need to do more acceptance practices than our professional lives, because we have people in our personal lives who are going to be in our personal lives forever, you know, family, et cetera. And any of those people can be people that at various times, you know, we find ourselves a little off kilter with. And practicing acceptance for the long-term vision of the relationship and what it is that we want out of that relationship is, I think, one of the most important things that we can do.
Oh, I absolutely recognize and agree. Even yesterday, I did the acceptance inquiry that we have in Tiara for a person who is really important in my life. I had to do it twice, actually, because the first time it was not giving me the relief that I was hoping for. So I had to do it again and practice. But if I hadn't done it, I mean, it would have affected the rest of my day. And so I was really grateful. And also, I admire that your ability of having that so integrated in your life that you can, well, maybe even practice without doing all the writing down. And because I sometimes also try to skip that part. I think, oh, I know what it is. I know how to do it. I'll do it in my mind. And then I've done it and it works for 5 minutes, and then no, I'm not there. So how can we just, if the practice of acceptance were a muscle, how can we build the muscle, Peg? What would you like to share about that?
Well, I think the most important thing in the beginning is simply to recognize those situations, circumstances, people, whatever it might be, that we find ourselves in this argument about. Like, we want things to be different. How can it be different? I don't like the way it is. I don't understand. I am not happy about that. And when we find those opportunities, those situations that keep coming up, that's the time to pause and actually really, in a conscious, intentional way, practice acceptance, knowing again that it's a practice. And so we may have to do it more than once. Just a great example for you yesterday. You know, to go through the exercise twice. And sometimes they're sticky enough situations that I do take the time to write it all down, because I know that that actually helps me process. But I think the more we use this particular tool, the more facility we'll build, the more that muscle gets used, the more it actually almost comes up on its own. Without having to be like, oh, what do I need to do here? It's like it's almost like I can reach for it without even thinking about it.
You mentioned a tool because, and indeed, when we talk about our practice, how maybe there are other ways to practice acceptance as well, but we find ours useful for ourselves. It can be found in the Tiara library. So if you would like to have access to the library, then just write us an email or let us know by a note. It's not like accept, and then you're done. I mean, there are different layers to that. And especially when you start building the muscle, it takes a bit of time to understand, oh yeah, there's the level of beliefs, there's the level of feelings, there are even deeper levels also. You are looking for a level where actually a shift can happen that releases the energy that otherwise is stuck.
Yes. Right.
So if you would like to know more about the Tiara tool in the Tiara library, then please reach out to us. We are happy to share much more about it. And for now, I think we have to come an end with our conversation. Yes. But thank you very much, Peg. This was a great exploration.
Yes, and we hope it's valuable for anyone who's listening. And like we said, it takes practice. So just know that it's one of those things that you can develop mastery over time.
Exactly. Go for it. Thank you, Peg.
Thank you.